If it happens to me, and this is my job, and I have deadlines, then, you know, I know it must be happening to some of the rest of you. Turn off the browser, turn off the email, turn off Twitter, turn off Facebook, right. BIC, but in share. Another thing that is very, very important, and when we're writing inflammatory or controversial things, this is not your first inclination to do this, but I want to urge you to do it, is join a critique group and let other people critique your writing. After we're through here today, if some of you guys want to stay over in a corner, we'll say this corner, and you want to be at a critique group and you live in the same geographical area, critique each other's work. I compare critique groups and editors to someone who tells you that your fly is down or your slip is showing before you go out in public. That's and I cannot emphasize enough how important that is. Now you might think, well, I'll just get somebody to edit it. Did you know that a professional editor will charge you between $50 and $100 an hour to edit your work? Isn't it better in this economy to get together and somebody can say, you know, that's not working. You have to be committed to be honest with one another, and if somebody writes something and their purpose is to get you to think something or see something, if it doesn't work, you say to them kindly, you need to work on that, that doesn't work, you know, here's some suggestions. And if you're all in it together, then it becomes more of a pleasure. Another thing you have to be willing to do if you're a writer is rewrite, the bane of the existence of every writer. And there's a sci-fi writer named C.J. Cherry, and she said it's perfectly okay to write garbage as long as you edit brilliantly. So rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. Now, I wanted to spend just a few minutes telling you what's on this resource page that I gave you. On the top is my own website for my writings about Mormonism. I have posted this on the RFM board, but if any of you would like to contribute an item to my 365 Reasons Why I Won't Return to the Mormon Church, it can be your first published article. Some of you are interested in the craft of writing novels or fiction. I blog with 5 other published, what are called upmarket fiction writers at Novel Matters. And then you're probably not interested in the theological thing, but it does explore the fact and representation. There's a place where you can find me. Here's a place for my book trailer. You guys know what a book trailer is? It's like a movie trailer, only it's about a book. And there's a professionally produced book trailer, Latter-day Cipher. The books that I urge you to get are Writer's Market if you're going to try to market your writing. And the cool thing about Writer's Market now is that you can subscribe online for $6 a month and search. You don't have to go through a book, you know, thumbing through and turning down corners. You can search, and it has a little, your page has the ability to store up the information of things you need for later. Elements of Style I've already mentioned. The Marshall Plan for Novel Writing is what I use to plot my novel. And for any kind of writing, there's something called the snowflake method. And it's a very first, it starts out as visual, but then it's more concept-oriented to help you organize and be creative with your writing. And then the classic book, Writing Down the Bones, about exercise and inspiration, totally from a secular point of view, you will all approve. Useful sites for manuscript and proposal preparation. I chose these all from one site, and it is a site of a Christian Christian agent, but it's the best place I've ever seen where it succinctly tells you one thing after another what to do to prepare a proposal, what to do, how to write a query letter to an agent or to an editor, all the things you need to know to not make yourself look stupid. And the reason I say that is, here is a reality in the publishing world. If you blow it with a publishing company or an editor, you don't get a second chance. If they reject your manuscript, they keep logs of these things. You can't fix it up and send it back again, so don't do it right the first time. Because if you really wanted Simon & Schuster to publish your book, and you have a really good book, but you give them such a lousy query letter that they throw it out, you can't come back and write a better query letter. So learn to do it the first time. And then I provided for you lists of writers' conferences. If you want to get the attention of an editor or an agent, the best place to do it is to sit next to them at a writers' conference. And they come there knowing that that's what you're going to do. You're not intruding. And writers' conferences are set up, at least the Christian ones, I haven't gone to any secular ones. They're set up so that as part of your fee, it is understood that there will be an agent at every table and that you can sit next to that agent and you can tell them your ideas and get some feedback. I mean, that's fantastic. So anyway, I've got you resources to find those kinds of things. I want to talk to you a little bit about memoir writing, and that's something I think Sue, one of the purposes she asked me to come. Remember as you're writing that your personal experience is not normative. What that means is that your experience is unique, individual, and though it may have commonalities with others, you can't expect others to have the same reactions to things that you did. I found this out when I wrote a book called Ex-Mormons, Why We Left, and I interviewed 8 people who had left the Mormon church. Sandra Tanner was one of them. And I asked them, what was your point of departure? Because see, mine was looking at a woodcut. Another person's was hearing a radio program. Another person reached in their pocket and found a brochure that had been in their pocket since the fall before. Everybody's different, and so recognize that and acknowledge that. Acknowledge your readers as being someone you're not expecting to come to the same conclusions as you. I was going to read you, how much time do we have? When is this actually over? Does anybody know? Because we've... 5:30, so
15 more minutes.
I'd like to leave at least 10 minutes for questions.
Like 10 minutes of questions, okay. With memoir writing, I consulted someone who does that for a living, and she said that the first thing that people ask her when she goes and offers memoir, her books, which are memoirs of her own experience, people always want to know, how does your family feel about that? And for those of you who are going to write about your experiences leaving Mormonism and have Mormon family, that is the issue. And I'm going to give you her advice. You can take it or leave it because this woman has done this. She says, first of all, don't overexpose others. She recommends that you put it before a critique group and see how they react before you do that. And she also said that in the case of your own failings, not the failings of others or not things that need to be righted, but sometimes things need to be buried. If you've made a mistake and you've hurt only yourself, it may not be helpful to tell everybody. Another thing is she talks about don't whine. Now how more basic can you get this? But if you show, don't tell, then you won't be whining. Another thing is don't overdo any jargon. For a Christian writer, don't overdo the Christian jargon. For someone who is on the RFM board all the time, don't talk about the FSM unless you identify what the FSM is. Another thing she said was be gentle and wise when you can. Another thing she said was when you're dealing with pathos or tragedy, she gave the example of a book called The Glass Castle by someone named Jeanette Walls. And she said her matter-of-fact telling allows the reader to be enraged on her behalf. Her matter-of-fact telling allows the reader to be enraged on her behalf. She says, stay focused on a single theme, employ humor. Just think how much more fun this conference was because people joked and laughed at themselves when they were speaking. You know, nobody likes someone that just, is bombastic. Be real, admit your own failings. And also, I'll add to that, please remember that even though you may have left this behind, anything that you say to a Mormon is going to be regarded as a testimony. Anything that is based on feelings is going to be put on an equal plane with their own feelings. And so it is best if you find some way to document something. Otherwise, you're just having your feelings against my feelings. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, I won't belabor that.